A criminal steals a purse, but the victim does not get a good look at him. When he's put on trial, he's acquitted because of lack of conclusive evidence. Later, the police happen to find the stolen purse in his house. When the government tries to re-prosecute him, however, the judge does not let them because the criminal has already been found innocent. Why can't the government re-prosecute someone when new evidence surfaces? It's because of a clause in the Fifth Amendment called the Double Jeopardy Clause. The Double Jeopardy Clause states that nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. This means that no person can be tried twice for the same crime. The justification for this clause is that, if it did not exist, the government could prosecute someone multiple times, and every trial would cost the defendant time and money and cause him public embarrassment. On top of that, it would be fairly easy for the government to get a guilty verdict if they could just try again with a new jury when they lost, or if they could make the defendant spend all their money on these trials. Also, without this rule, someone who is found innocent would live in fear that at any time they could be brought back to trial and found guilty, regardless of their actual guilt. Finally, if someone who is guilty could be tried multiple times, they could get more than the maximum penalty for a crime if they were found guilty multiple times. The Supreme Court's stance on double jeopardy is basically that, unless the trial was nullified in a higher court or if the case was a mistrial, a jury's decision is always final. As Justice Stewart wrote in Ash v. Swenson, when an issue of ultimate fact has once been determined by a valid and final judgment, that issue cannot again be litigated between the same parties in any future lawsuit. In Ash v. Swenson, the defendant was a member of a group of people who robbed a poker game and was tried of robbing one person and found innocent. However, he was later tried of robbing a different person at the same poker game, and that was found to be a violation of double jeopardy as the first jury had essentially ruled that he was not one of the robbers. Another case where double jeopardy was upheld was Green v. United States. In that case, a man was put on trial and the jury was told they could convict him of first or second-degree murder. They found him guilty of second-degree murder. Later, he appealed the case and won, but when he went back to trial, he was again tried for first and second-degree murder, and was found guilty of first-degree murder this time. The court ruled that this violated his double jeopardy as he had appealed the second-degree murder charge, not the first, and that no one should have to risk worse consequences due to an appeal. A third recent double jeopardy case was Fong Fu v. United States, where the district judge told the jury to give the defendant an acquittal because the prosecution did not have good evidence. This was a poor decision by the judge. The prosecution was not even done presenting its witnesses and had enough evidence already to justify a full case. However, the Supreme Court ruled that retrying the defendant would be a violation of the Double Jeopardy Clause, regardless of judicial error. Before 1969, states could violate the Double Jeopardy Clause whenever they wanted, but that exception does not exist anymore after Benton v. Maryland. Today, there are only three major exceptions to the Double Jeopardy Clause. 1. Someone may be tried once by a state court and once by a federal court without violating double jeopardy, as they both have different interests in seeing the person punished. This is called dual sovereignty. Strangely, however, this does not apply to municipalities and states, nor to territories and the federal government. 2. If there was bribery involved, then the defendant was never truly in jeopardy, so he can be retried. The most famous case of this is the case of Harry Ailman, who bribed the judge and several members of the jury. 3. A person can be tried of two similar but different crimes at different trials. For instance, someone can be tried of an offense at one trial and conspiracy to commit that offense at another trial. Due to the fact that occasionally guilty people get out of punishment due to double jeopardy, many people do not like this rule. They believe that it's hypocritical that a guilty verdict can be appealed, but a not guilty verdict cannot be touched. They also claim that other laws could be made to make sure that the government doesn't abuse its power and re-prosecute someone until they get a guilty verdict or cost them all their money. However, despite these criticisms, the Double Jeopardy Clause does more good than harm. Keeping innocent people out of jail is more important than making sure every criminal who was judged innocent once goes to jail. And the Double Jeopardy Clause is the most effective way to do that.